that. So basically, there is a significant global unmet medical need, as two-thirds of the world population do not have any access to medical imaging. Basically, Nanox intending to change that. We have a technology that originated in Japan. It's deep technology that we've developed for the last many years that basically provide an alternative uh, solution for William Röntgen X-ray source, uh, an alternative that makes this solution in a very small footprint and significantly much less expensive. And because of that, we believe that we can embark on a global network of full body scanners in countries around the globe. Those scanners will be connected through the cloud to a service that will provide a better diagnostic and other AI services to patients around the world. The business model that we are intending to introduce is a SaaS model or MSaaS, Medical Screening as a Service, which is a very unique model for this industry simply because of the fact that normally we're talking about a CapEx model, we're moving it into an MSaaS model. We are able to do that simply because of the fact that the devices here on the right side of the screen cost us to make a fracture of what a full body scanner costs today, and therefore we intend to create a global network that belongs to us, connected to the service, and allow our customers to enjoy what we call a pay-per-scan model rather than a CapEx model. I would tell you that the company also enjoying a big support from big companies such as Fujifilm, Foxconn, and SK Telecom, all whom have invested in the company and collaborating with us in order to create this vision into reality. So with that, I really don't want to dwell too much on it, but just for those audience that came to this presentation, they are new for Nanox, I would tell you that this technology, again, originated many years before Nanox established in Japan. The intention was to create a nanotechnology for the display market. 8 years ago, we bought the know-how and the core team that originated this technology, and we started to work tediously in order to create what we call a cold cathode technology. That was an MBO by Japanese R&D team, and we established 8 years ago Nanox to focus on medical imaging. Our technology is a MEMS technology, which means it's semiconductor. And what we've done, we focus on moving the technology that was then glass-based into silicon-based, and that took us a lot of investment and a lot of time. Finally, we made it, and in June of 2019, that was recognized when Fujifilm and SK Telecom joined us after over 2 years of due diligence, confirming that our claims that we have an alternative to William Röntgen X-ray source may be good. And by the way, if we are right in our thesis, you can envision a full body scanner sitting in any GP office, any clinics, any urgent care units, which will change the landscape of the radiology market, not only in developed countries, but also in developing countries. So last year, at the beginning of this year, we went through a crossover funding. We raised about $80 million from strategic investors like Foxconn, SK Telecom, and many other investors. And then we went to the market with a prototype, enabling customers from all over the globe coming to Israel. That was pre-corona virus to witness what we can do with this technology. And indeed, we signed 8 pre-sale agreement for deployment of thousands of units based on the business model I just mentioned. And that was for us a very big achievement, since now we have customers, we have a demand subject to regulatory approval, and we can work on perfecting our prototype and go to manufacturing. To that end, I would say that we contacted Foxconn, and they are the designated manufacturer. I think people know Foxconn because they are making the iPhone, but actually Foxconn is a huge company that is also making medical devices, and specifically in their medical devices factory, we found a partner that is eager and capable of taking Nanox at scale. So right now the plan is to allow Foxconn to make thousands of those full body scanners, and we are hoping to deploy many of those in the second half starting from the second half of 2021. In August 25th, we completed an IPO, successful IPO on NASDAQ. Basically, we told the story, we shared the status of where things are, and we got the trust of many investors. We raised over $170 million of net proceeds, and that gave us the tools in order to execute our plan. We are working tediously right now to ramp up our manufacturing capabilities, both in Korea and in Israel, and we also anticipating that the FDA clearance, which we call 510K, but others in other countries will come in during the first half of the year in a way that the second half of 2021 will be the first commercial units that we are going to actually deploy and operate based on this unique model. Overall, we have the first wave of our vision is to deploy 15,000 units by 2024. We believe this is very achievable as we see the demand growing and contracts that are being signed already for 13 countries, thousands of devices that customers that are capable and eager actually to take on changing their landscape of radiology market in their own countries, and I'll touch upon it in a bit. With that, I want to just mention very quickly, I think you'll see it also in the video soon, but basically the legacy system that was very good and working for a long time, that invented by William Röntgen, is basically a machine that generates electrons that are being collued into an anode. Those electrons are being generated by a very high temperature. So you need to have a very high temperature, over 1,000 degrees Celsius, before you can have those electrons collude and create the X-rays. All of that creates a very aggressive environment that it's very hard to maintain cool and to actually maintain operation. And a lot of the costs that we see in different modalities of X-rays has to do with that fact. And what Nanox actually is doing is providing an alternative. So it's not hot cathode, it's cold cathode. We're generating those electrons by a nanomem structure that is done in room temperature and with very minimal voltage. We also separate what's called the MA-kV dependency, which means we can work with one tube on different penetration powers, let's call it, and different brightness, which is also a very unique aspect that enable us in one modality to actually look in various tissues along the body. So the fundamental technology is changing from hot cathode analog to cold cathode digital, and for that reason we're able to make something that is a very small footprint and much lower in cost. With that in mind, we can propel the universe with those devices, not on a CapEx model, but rather by our MSaaS model, and by that create much more available and accessible access to these medical modalities, so that we can drive higher rates of medical prevention through early detection. So that's our vision, basically. That's our invention, the cold cathode, and we feel very comfortable, especially after today's show that I'll talk to you about, going with this vision. Just a little bit of technology. Again, I will touch upon it, and you'll see in the video the demonstration, but just for those that want to see, on the bottom side of this slide, you can see a wafer. This is a silicon wafer. Each one of these little squares represent an X-ray source. Again, temperature is room temperature, alternative to William Röntgen, 2,000 degrees Celsius. You see also a clean room that we have in Japan. This is truly a deep technology. I mean, protected by the know-how and patents, many years of investment. We've invested a lot in protecting this IP to the levels that we've decided to make our own chips. We're not giving it away to anyone else. Those X-ray source will be always made by Nanox, and with the help of SK Telecom, we're now establishing a big modern facility in Korea that will be able to cope with the ongoing demand that we have. So overall, deep technology and highly protected. Next slide is really showing another view of the legacy system on the left side. Again, the aggressive element of one filament at very high temperature, pushing a cloud of electrons, versus on the right side, the chip. This is an actual image of our chip under the microscope. there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of nanocones and nano electron guns. Each one of them can emit one electron at a time, and that actually makes the trick of room temperature and very controlled digitally X-ray source. Because of that reason, and this is another significant advantage that I want to convey to you, the cost associated with the source itself because of the heat generated, etc., is dramatically less when you talk about Nanox technology, simply because it's mass-produced semiconductors that we estimate to be less than $100 in mass production versus $150,000 for average cost of a similar X-ray tube, and that's a big difference. When you can make something cost $100 versus $150,000, you can change the world. And that's why when we push for availability and accessibility, we believe that once we completed the transfer for mass production, we can actually place those light bulbs in a way in different systems around the world, and by that increase the accessibility to medical imaging. All of that we're doing through this machine. So that's the first full system of Nanox. What we did here, we actually assembled a few of those tubes inside this arc, and you'll see in the video soon the way we do it. And this machine actually is able to screen the full body from different angles, different energy levels, and the combination provide access to excellent clinical images that can be analyzed locally, but our idea is to analyze it over the cloud, simply because of the fact that radiologists can sit in one location, patient can be in other location, especially for countries that do not have any access to medical imaging. The idea there that each one of these full body screening machine is connected via the internet to a cloud, and our cloud is like a switchboard that can connect to radiologists, archiving, annotation by AI, etc. And that's the way we see the future. Let's talk about the regulatory paths. Like any medical device, we need to get clearances in the countries that we're working at. Right now, we have 13 countries that we need to clear. The first one, of course, is in the US, which is the FDA. As I said before, we expect to get a clearance for a commercial device during the first half of the year. We took a multi-step approach in the US. Actually, we already submitted a single source device as a 510K submission in January of 2020. And additional, I would say, we completed this by September of 2020, and we expect that to be cleared soon. And on top of that, we're going to have a multi-source submission, and that will be for the commercial device already. And when we do it in the US, in parallel, we'll do it in other countries like the EU and other countries that we already have contract with. Overall, just from top line, our technology is ready. We're making the product. We're going to submit in multiple countries and expect to get clearances during the first half of the year, at least for some countries, including the US, which will enable us to go live and actually make business in multiple countries based on the contract we signed as soon as the second half of this year. We also, it's worth to mention that we are planning to ship over 1,000 units in the second half of the year, and we're geared up totally from a capacity point of view. The only thing we're waiting for is actually the regulatory approval. With that, again, I will not touch upon it too much, but I would like to just go back to what I said before. This is an MSaaS model, basically pay per scan. We're not putting the load of the CapEx on our customers, but rather we've raised the money and we're going to build the system ourselves. We're going to connect our customers to the service and basically have the customer commit to a minimum paper scan, minimum number of scans per day. Our contracts are based on the fact that we Nanox want to see $14 per scan, and we want to see 7 scans at the minimum, which take us to about $27,000 a year. The cost of our product right now, estimated installed to be less than $15,000. So as you can see, even at the minimum scan, we can get to a very nice ROI. However, we're not going to stop there because the global average of scans per device is about 60. So we modeled our business based on something that could become 20 scans per day, which we think is very reasonable. And if so, based on the devices we have already committed, but overall, the first wave that we're trying to put, which are 15,000 units, we're talking about a very healthy business, both to us and, of course, to our partners. In terms of progress of sales, again, this is a map that is focusing first on 5,150 units that are all signed contract pending local regulatory approval. We've signed thousands of units in Australia, Norway, New Zealand, Taiwan, Singapore, Italy, Spain, Mexico, Guatemala, Brazil, Russia, Belarus, and South Africa. All of them signed contract. We're talking about partners that are capable and eager to push forward this business model. And as we get the regulatory approval, we start to deploy one and then five and then hundreds up to thousands of those devices starting from the second half of this year. On top of that, I would say that each one of these partners committed to this minimum annual service fee, which is very important. And then we have another strategic agreement with in the US with USA Radiology and in Korea with SK Telecom for additional 5,500 units. And this is not guaranteed by contract, but just by collaborative agreement. So all of that goes nude because what left to us is actually to get regulatory approval and get to make those units with Foxconn. Let's talk about the ecosystem. I mean, we're trying to change something that was pretty stagnant for many years, and we're trying to do it with a coalition of partners. This is not for us to do alone. And what you see here is a kind of, I would say, roadmap of where we're going to find ourselves. All of those names are companies that already signed a contract with us, but you can see that we have three categories. First and foremost, we have strategic partners, those that can help us to scale, but also can use our technology for their own use. And we expect this list to grow and grow over time. In the middle, you see the new, I would say, era of software companies that can implement AI technology to better annotize, I would say, and give radiologists a better access to data. And as you can see, we already signed with a handful of companies. And as we speak, the interest level, especially in RSNA, that we get is giving me the feeling that we'll see many more to come. And on the right side, of course, these are the deployment partner. These are the companies that actually are working locally, territory by territory. They know the market, they know their customers. They're committed to carry on this vision, and we trust them to actually make our service available in their own countries. So that's really the philosophy there. And I think before we go to this slide of the summary, I will now unshare my screen, and I will ask Sarah to actually share with you a little bit of today's news from the RSNA demonstration that we made earlier. Sarah, please. Hello and welcome to Nanox. Welcome to the RSNA 2020. My name is Ran Polyakin. I'm the CEO of Nanox, and today I will be your host in this demonstration of Nanox technology and system. We are streaming live, actually. You see here Bloomberg. We're streaming live from the heart of Israel, and as you can see, there are many people behind me, all working tediously in order to realize this vision. But this is not a local story. Actually, for years now, we've been collaborating with our teams in Japan, South Korea, United States, and of course in Israel, all with the intent to bring something new to the world of radiology, to create availability and accessibility to medical imaging. Together with me, I'm very happy to have two radiologists, certified radiologists from the US that join us today to guide us through the images. So thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Hughes, Dr. Shabshin. You will take us through the images. Again, thank you for coming, and maybe a word of introduction.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shabshin. I'm a musculoskeletal academic radiologist for the past 20 years and even more. And I'm working in Israel at Clalit Healthcare Services and in the US at Penn Medicine, Philadelphia. I've been working with startup companies for the past 18 years.
And I'm Dr. Michael Hughes. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm a board-certified radiologist, practicing for 15 years. I'm a CEO of USRAP Holdings, company which is backed by Siemens Healthineers and other venture capital firms. And I'm also on the advisory board of Nanox. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys for joining us, and our radiologists will join me later to actually analyze those images. And let's start the magic. So the magic actually happened here. This is our demo room. We're going to go in and outside later on. What you can see here is amazing two devices that are based on nanotechnology. We're going to demonstrate the way they work. We're going to show you the functionality and the freedom with these two machines. But before that, I want to talk about technology. I'm a technologist. I want to tell you about the technology of Nanox that enables all of that. So you know, Nanox was originated technology in Japan, and we've been working for years and years to perfect something that actually William Röntgen did many years ago, over 100 years ago. William Röntgen created the mechanism to stream electrons into an X-ray, and this is RSNA, so many radiologists, you know that in order to create X-ray, you need a stream of electrons. So he's doing it in an analog thermionic way, namely, he's taking a filament, taking it over 1000 degrees C, and then there is a cloud of electrons ready to move into the anode. Well, it's very workable, but a lot of challenges. What we've been focusing in the last 8 years is actually create a true alternative to William Röntgen X-ray source, one that is digital and one that can work in room temperature. And what I'm going to show you here is the basis of this revolution. Namely, it's nanotechnology implemented on a semiconductor for the first time ever, and we call it a chip. So what I'm holding here may look to you small, but this is a significant invention. This is a MEMS chip with nanotechnology that creates a stream of electron that is controlled digitally. Under the microscope, if you look, you can see hundreds and hundreds of millions of little electron guns that can emit one electron at a time. And that's very important because if you can control the stream of electron and you can independently control the MA and KV, you can actually create that. And this is Nanox X-ray tube. This is the core technology that we have. This is the first ever nanotechnology tube that can go the entire range of X-ray, that can play with MA, KV independency, and it's very low cost, so much low cost that you can place many of those, hence our vision to propel the universe with those light bulbs that can actually give very good images, as you'll see in a minute. Now, just for comparison, you need to understand that what we have here is a traditional, typical X-ray thermionic source. So we have the glass, we have a rotating anode, we need to rotate it via an engine, and we put all of this in a basin of oil, and that's entail a lot of limitations. So that's basically the technology that we've developed. Again, deep technology. I like to call it deep because it's over a decade of development, and it all comes down to this. And this we can make in mass production in very, very low cost. Now, the next question you ask me, okay, we got it, but can you get X-ray? And you know what? I want to try it. I want to see if this really little, it's like the weight of an apple, tube can generate an X-ray. So please follow me, and we'll take you through a 2D X-ray modality and see if we can take a phantom of a wrist there. So we're going now, and we see our radiologist. This is our control room. We'll get there in a minute, but we're going through this X-ray room, and we're going to meet you on the other side, showing you the X-ray machine. Well, what you see here is a 2D modality of X-ray. It's very typical. You can see it in every hospital. The only big difference is that this is Nanox, which means that this head here has this tube inside. And what I want to confirm or establish with you before we move on is that we can actually take this phantom. This is a phantom of a wrist. We can place it on the detector, and we can actually get an X-ray, can take an image that is an X-ray image. You know what? I have a better idea. I feel like making history. I'm so happy that so many people came to join us today, and I want to refer to 1895. This is the time that William Röntgen took an image of his wife. It's very iconic for X-ray. And what I want to do now, with your permission, I want to put an apron on and actually take an image of my hand. So I need the help from one of my team. Gilly, can you help me with the apron, please? And you know what? Let's take away this phantom. We don't need it. We'll take my hand. So now I'm going to put this apron that is supposed to protect me from the radiation. Oops. Okay, and with that, now I'm protected. I will sit and I will try to ask Gilly to take an image of my hand. So can you hit the button, Gilly? Okay, we're done. So now we took an X-ray image of my hand. I don't know how it's going to come out. This is a true real-life demo, so I have no idea if it even took the image. I heard the beep, and now I'm going to go out, and my team is going to help me to get out these 25 kilos of Efron. Thank you very much. As you can see, I keep holding this technology. This is very precious technology. So what is happening now from the X-ray room, the images are being uploaded to our system. It's taking a bit of a time. And when it comes up, I will simply ask our radiologists to confirm very, very simple thing. I will ask them if they get the image and if this image is acceptable to them compared to other analog image. So it will take a bit of time. In the meantime, actually, you can watch beyond this glass, and you can see this beautiful machine. And here I see that actually I see my hand. As you can see, my wrist is very noticeable. And as you can see, I'm still married. Okay, 28 years yesterday. So I'm still keeping this the wedding ring. And I will hand it to you, radiologist, just to tell me if what you see is acceptable.
Congratulations.
Thank you
25
very
year
much.
anniversary.
You forgot to take your bracelet off.
Nice jewelry.
Oh, my
Okay,
bracelet.
so actually this is a great quality. We see the joints, the cortex, the bony trabecula, small details. Yeah, it's at least as good as the ones I'm used to seeing in my daily practice. Some skin folds and fat planes. I can play
No,
with the
I couldn't
window.
tell the difference from can you window a little bit? I couldn't tell the difference from analog technology. This is quite impressive.
You can even see the button of your jacket. Okay.
Good contrast between bony and soft tissues, for sure. I like
Okay, anything to say about the KVMA that you want to tell me?
Yeah, this was done. I just want to confirm that it was done, as we spoke before, with KVP of 40 and mass of 1.5, right?
And typically, the X-rays are done at KVP of 50 to 60 and MA of about 3 to 5. 3 to 5.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hughes, Dr. Shapchin. This was for me a confirmation because we talked to you about nanotechnology, we showed the modality, and then we wanted to confirm that we can actually generate a very simple 2D X-ray. Now I want to step up the game a notch, and I ask you to follow me into the magic room, the demo room where we have Nanox 2 system in. I want to explain what we did here, and I want you guys to be as impressed as I am, because what we did here is very unique. So conceivably, you have two machines here. They look like imaging machine, very elegant. I like the design, but there are two fundamental differences. One, this is the first machine in the world that actually works with Nanox tube. So this machine works with Nanox tube. And second, not like any other system that provides full body scanning, this one have multi-source, which means we took separate tubes and we placed here 6 number of tubes, here and here and here and here. And if you think about it, this machine can provide huge flexibility because now, as you can see, we can actually swing the patient under this gantry. We can swing the gantry, and we have the freedom to take separate images, projection in different KVP, different angles, put it all together into one very comprehensive file, and that's really what we believe to become a very new breed of medical imaging that, with the fact that it's so low cost, it will provide huge value. Now, for your information, these are prototypes, but subject to regulatory approval, we're going to produce these babies in thousands. And during 2021, you'll see many of those going around the world or connected to the cloud, provide real value. Without me getting too excited, let me actually show you this in action. So what you have here for you on this bed, we have a wrist, we have a phantom of a chest, and actually we have a bone of a lamb that we took from the butchery. And what we want to do now, I will leave the room because of the radiation, and I will ask my team to start a scan, and I want you to see the scan, how we're going to how we're going about this scanning. So please follow me again. And I'm sitting now next to a radiologist. And what is happening, Gilad, can you hit the button? I want to show you now what is happening. So this system is now moving the targets across, and different projection images are being taken. And in a minute, you'll see that each images are actually uploaded through our system into the software here. But for now, what you see is that the image is scanning, and you can hear the noise, scanning different projections. By the way, different body part calls from different recipes. So we optimize, we call it the Nanox Atlas, which is a unique recipe. And you can see as we speak, the images coming up here. So we take many, many images. Remember, we have many tubes, many angles, many KVPs. And to provide a perfect image, we're combining all of them together. And in a minute, those images will start to upload. And there again, we have the wrist. And remember, we took 2D image of my hand. Now we have something different of hand. We took the chest, and we took a bone from the butchery, actually. So I'll be very, very interested to ask you, Dr. Shabshin and Dr. Hughes, why do you think that this type of modalities provide freedom? What do you expect to see? What are the challenges? And what will surprise you to see when the outcome will come?
Right. On the regular 2D images, we have this challenge very frequently of overlapping biomass. And in the 3D tomosynthesis imaging, we are able to avoid this problem. And we will want to demonstrate you some images.
Okay, fantastic. And actually, Dr. Hughes, I see that the images came. So for the audience to understand, we took images inside, upload many of them there. Our software combine it into something that our radiologists are going to review now and explain. So I will step back and get the professional to explain to me and to the audience what's going on.
Okay, so this is a 2D study that was performed yesterday, as you can see the date here. And Michael, do you see, what do you think about the joints?
I think it looks normal. It's a
see,
phantom, but I don't see any abnormalities.
Do you see anything that is suspicious for a fracture, a bone lesion,
I
erosions? And if you
don't.
look carefully at this area here, also the audience, anyone that is watching us. Okay, let's move on to the tomo. So here, we look at the great anatomic resolution.
I like it.
Obviously, that is missing in the 2D. Here, where the volar axis, sorry, these are the live reconstructions coming from the chest. So let's go back to here, to ours. So this is the PC form. This is in the volar aspect of the hand, and we see it very sharp, but the rest of the hand is really obscured. And as we move back, we see the hook of the hamate. This is an area that is prone for occult fractures. It's much harder to see on these 2Ds. And as we move on,
look at this resolution.
yeah, and as we move on, I'll play with the window. Can you see anything now? Would you change the
Can I
report?
look at something? Look at this area here in carpal bones. It almost looks like erosions. What do you think of that?
I think so too.
And you don't see it, don't you?
I would suspect that these are erosions, and I don't see these at all in this area. And I could maybe think, or one could think that this is
look at this
linear lucency, like a fracture.
I agree.
And last thing is, there may be some subtle calcifications or sclerotic lesions here in the bone, the radial styloid, and look how much nicer you can see them.
Looks like
with
this
the
phantom
tomo.
was a little bit abused.
Maybe. Okay, let's move on to the next case. So our next case is going to be the wrist. Okay, so just, these are the live reconstructions of the tomo. This is a chest radiograph that was done at a hospital yesterday. It was done on a regular X-ray machine.
Analog source.
Yeah, and this is the tomo. Okay, let's look at the tomo for a quick second. And
could you scroll the whole thing?
yeah,
I'd
we'll
like
scroll.
to see
Yeah.
the whole images.
As you can see now, we are anterior.
Sorry.
So we can see the sternum very well. There's no way to see the sternum here. The joints, the manubriosternal joint. And even, if I go even more anterior, there's this sternal foramen that's like the normal variant. Look how beautiful
I see
it.
it. I see something there already, but we'll come back to that.
And the trabecula of the ribs. And as we move back, we can see the airways.
Beautiful trachea.
And the posterior most slices of the tomo show the vertebra very sharp. The spine is very sharp. And what did you want to show in this case?
Well, I would like to ask the audience if they see anything abnormal on a 2D analog X-ray. There's a few things that stand out.
So maybe there are several possible nodules. We see this round lesion here and other ones down here. These could be vessels or lung lesions. Maybe there's a subtle nodule here.
What does audience think?
I don't see anything else. So now let's move from back to front. Slowly. So this large so-called nodule is actually a blood vessel. And this one is also a blood vessel. And here's this lesion. That's the maybe possibly lesion
I agree.
that I mentioned here. It's a true lesion.
This looks real.
And if we look on the other side, there are two additional lesions.
Wow, look at the size of this.
Window.
They must be at least 7, 8 millimeters, and
They're
you don't
pretty
see
big.
them on. That's impressive.
No, not even retrospectively. And I want to
Wait,
ask you if
I
you see
saw
more
something
lesions.
else. I saw something else, Noga. Hold on, let me see if it's real or not. Oh, here it is. Did you see this? This is real. This must be a 4 to 5 millimeter nodule right there. And no way, this is smaller than the vessels, and there's no way you're going to see it on a chest X-ray. You know, any of these nodules could be cancers.
And we know we embedded a phantom nodule here, like.
Of course.
And as we move forward, there's one more lesion that is obscured by the cardiac silhouette. Can you see this
I'd
one?
like to be a resident today.
Can you see this
Yes.
one? I'm gonna
Yes,
nail
I
you.
saw it. Here we go. Here it is.
Okay.
Here's this lesion,
And-
and it's obscured by the heart.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the next case.
So in this case, of course, there are multiple potential nodules that were not nodules, and the nodules that we don't see, we actually see them on the tomo.
Okay, so this one came out live. So
This looks like a turkey leg.
No, this is
We just
not
had
a
Thanksgiving.
turkey.
I thought,
Thanksgiving is over. And this is actually, I went to the butcher and I bought this lamb extremity. And we made some cuts into it to simulate fractures. So this is
I have
the
to stay away
lateral.
from you, Noga.
This is the lateral 2D that we did at the day that we purchased it, that we bought it. And now this is the Tomo 2D. This one that was just done now. Can you see some fracture? Obviously, this is
I
the
do.
complete fracture because
You
we
have to be
played with
blind.
it too much.
To me, is this one.
And then there's another fracture here, which you can see so much better with the Tomo. Do you see any other fractures?
I don't. I only see that obvious one and little fracture above that, but that's it.
Do you see anything in this area?
I don't. I see some growth plate
That's here.
below. Yes.
Yeah. So let's now start scrolling through the Tomo. I don't see anything here, but I definitely see something here. This is
Is this real?
the fracture.
it is
There's
real.
no way to see this fracture on the lateral radiograph. You can definitely see it on the AP. So here we are on the left. That's why we can see this transverse line. And at this point, we're already out of it. We're going towards the right, and we're at this level here. The other nice thing is, look at the growth plates. How
It's beautiful.
detailed it is on the Tomo
I don't think I've ever seen in my life practicing
here. This is
a
the
growth plate that
comparative
looks so
study.
sharp.
So this area of the growth plate can be so well appreciated, and this area on the left so much better than the 2D.
I'm impressed.
If we need to summarize what we saw the sternum and the manubrial sternal joint.
We couldn't
To
see this
small
from the
details, there's no way to see it in the 2D. It's impossible. And then we saw the anatomical resolution. We could tell when we're anterior and when we're posterior. We got a lot of information about the third dimension. We saw some false positive nodules that ended up being blood vessels, and we saw nodules in the tomo that
False
were
negative.
not seen, not even retrospectively in the 2D.
Imagine how many lives we can save with this technology, just from lung cancer. This is just one example. I'm speechless. This is really, really exciting, and what difference we can make on the planet.
And lastly, although the fracture was occult on the lateral radiograph, we can still see it on the lateral tomo, and we could see a lot more information, get a lot more information about the growth plate than on the 2D.
That's the concept of overlapping biomass. This is the perfect example.
I think this is amazing. I must say, first of all, thank you so much for being here today. For me as an entrepreneur, I must tell you, I'm so excited, and I'll explain why. I mean, we've been working on technology, and my vision and my passion is to connect technology to the mass. And today, what we've seen so far is actually, we explained technology and we talked about nano and whatever, but when you actually speak to physicians and you see your comment about what we can see and what not, this technology, it really makes me very excited and very hopeful, because I know that as a CEO of Nanox, I can place many of those around the globe and provide many of those images in that quality. And before we move on, I just want to ask you, Michael, do you have any other modalities that you have in mind that you want to share with the audience?
Absolutely.
Because, this technology is quite flexible, so maybe
I will be pleased.
Maybe you want to come here, and
thank you so much.
I will stand next to you, because I think our audience will be quite amazed by what you have in your imagination when you see this technology.
First of all, I would like to mention that I've spent a week at this facility working with Ran and many engineers. I've seen probably thousands of images by now. Not only I'm convinced, but there's something that we came across by discussing with engineers, something that I had to share with everybody. The Nanox uniqueness is being multi-source technology, which means that you could have 2D, 3D, fluoroscopy, and even axial imaging all in one device. This is a still work in progress. This is a phantom simulations, noise-free data, preliminary results. We use 11 sources with axial, sagittal, and volumetric reconstruction, and we achieved 1 millimeter of voxel resolution. You can judge for yourself. To summarize, this is exciting, and I'm very emotional because I can imagine what this technology can be done to people throughout the world. In one machine, you can have multiple modalities, and I'm going to stop here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yu, Dr. Shabshin, and with that, I think there is no better way to go back into where the magic is and to summarize the day. So please follow me again into our demo room, where we have the two machines of Nanox waiting to be operated and propelled around the globe. So again, just I want the camera to see this beautiful machine again. Remember, this is a core technology. This is what we've invented. And today we actually connected the dot between the technology and an actual radiologist looking at an image and attach value to that. And that's really important to us. And with that, I just want to mention that it is the technologies that enable us to create a very low cost, very accessible, very available medical imaging system that in one machine can do so many modalities. And that's only the beginning, because if you go back to what Michael just talked about, we are sure that when we give this technology in the hands of scientific people and scientists, they will do so much with it. And we think that this is the next era of this technology. But moreover, we are here, and our vision, and I mean, this is our invention, but our vision, remember, is actually to create accessibility and availability to medical imaging around the world. And I think today we established that we are way in the way to go there. Thank you for everybody participating. Thank you, Michael and Noga, and Hope will join us in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll now turn the call over to Bob Yedid at LifeSci Advisors for the Q&A session. Please go ahead, Bob.
Great. Thank you very much. Really appreciate Ran. That was an outstanding presentation and video. With us are, as Ran mentioned, are Lydia Edwards, President of Nanox USA, as well as Yitzhak Mayan, who is the CFO of the company. So with that, let's start with the questions. Ravi Mistra, I see you have raised your hands from Berenberg. If you could please unmute yourself and go next, please.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. Can you hear me okay, guys? And Lydia, thanks. Congratulations on the demonstration. I think it's a big moment for the company. In the few hours since the demonstration, can you maybe talk about the types of questions you've been getting from clinicians at RSA?